Welcome to Out of Touchstone, and before we head into the video store for this week's recap, I just want to touch on something that probably should have mentioned when this series began and a few people have asked about, and that is if you listen to the podcast, which by the way you can still find on your favorite podcast platform. On the podcast, I'm just the co-host. The Out of Touchstone concept was created by my buddy Mike DeKalb, and we had hoped to go all the way through the history of Touchstone Pictures, but unfortunately life got in the way. We had to put the podcast on hold, and when it looked like nothing was going to be resolved in his life that's going on, and he didn't have time to come back to the show, I got his blessing to bring the show over to YouTube. And I'm hoping someday to have him on the show and in some capacity. We're tossing out some ideas, but for those of you that are wondering, that is why I am now hosting and Mike is not here at the moment. With that said, let's head into the video store and check out this episode of Out of Touchstone. Small update. At the end of the Jerky Boys episode, I said the next film we reviewed is one that I thought could only have been released in 1995. Well, I should probably check the calendar before I start talking. Turns out that film is actually the next film in the Touchstone library. The one this week, instead of getting a teenage romance with a side of mental illness, we're getting a history lesson thanks to Nick Nolte. And by the mid-90s, Nick Nolte was already a bona fide movie star, and he'd made several films for Touchstone Pictures. He'd played everything from a homeless man to an ex-con to a tortured artist to a Chicago newspaper reporter. So naturally, the next obvious career path was to play Thomas Jefferson. Yep.
Their films have been called exquisite, powerful, a masterpiece. Now, from Merchant Ivory comes an extraordinary new motion picture.
Are all men created equal, Mr. Jefferson?
About a man of freedom.
He is the master, and they're slaves.
A man of passion.
Would you dare?
Would you?
Jefferson in Paris, rated PG-13, now playing at a theater near you.
In 2025, I guess I finally reached that age where every guy picks a boring hobby to fill his time, and mine is presidential history. I traveled to 5 or 6 presidential libraries this year, but most of my knowledge has been on the 20th century, from Truman through Nixon. My knowledge of the founding fathers is really limited to just knowing that Mr. Feeney played John Adams in 1776. So seeing this movie on the Touchstone list of films, I thought, hey, what a chance to learn something about Thomas Jefferson. Unfortunately, the movie was made by Merchant Ivory. Producer Ismail Merchant and director James Ivory built a reputation on lavish period dramas. Gorgeous costumes, beautiful sets, and just a tad bit of pretentiousness. Merchant Ivory films didn't scream, fun night at Blockbuster. Before we get into the thoughts on the film, let's check out the elevator pitch and the rest of the cast. The year 1784. Thomas Jefferson, serving as U.S. Minister to France, steps into the glittering halls of Versailles just years before a revolution will shake the country. To French thinkers, he's a symbol of liberty. To Jefferson, France is a place of art, science, and refinement, but it's also a place of temptation. A widower, still devoted to his late wife, Jefferson is drawn into a romance with Maria Cosway, a married painter and musician, even as his eldest daughter grows uneasy with the relationship. Meanwhile, his connection with Sally Hemings, an enslaved maid in his household, foreshadows one of history's most controversial relationships. Balancing politics, romance, and scandal, Jefferson in Paris offered a very different kind of Touchstone tale. It was up to the cast to carry the weight. As mentioned earlier, Nick Nolte had been in several Touchstone pictures already. Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Three Fugitives, New York Stories, I Love Trouble, and on the podcast, we had dubbed Richard Dreyfuss and Bette Midler the king and queen of Touchstone, along with Danny DeVito as the jester. Given his place in Touchstone history, I am dubbing Nick Nolte Sir Touchstone to complete the Touchstone court. The central women in Jefferson's Parisian life are played by up-and-coming and international stars. Gwyneth Paltrow plays his daughter Patsy, just months away from her breakout role in Seven. Following strong turns in Presumed Innocent and The Player, Greta Scacchi portrays Maria Cosway, the married artist who captures Jefferson's heart. And Tandy Newton plays Sally Hemings, Jefferson's enslaved maid. Newton had just appeared in Interview with the Vampire and would go on to become a celebrated star in both film and television. Jefferson in Paris isn't exactly popcorn entertainment, but there are still some kernels worth savoring. Merchant Ivory's reputation is well earned. The costumes and scenery are top-notch. Nick Nolte brings a presidential aura to his portrayal of Thomas Jefferson. Richard Robin's score sets the perfect mood for a candlelit 18th century drama. Those are the perks. Let's look at the kernels left at the bottom of the bag. Jefferson may be in Paris. I felt like I was stuck at the DMV. The pacing of this film is slow. Better grab an energy drink or 6 before pressing play. And while the film tries to juggle politics, romance, and scandal, it might have been stronger if it had picked one focus, either Jefferson's bond with Maria Cosway or the controversial relationship with Sally Hemings. By splitting its attention, the film never fully delivers on any thread. When it comes to the box office, Jefferson in Paris is one of the most unusual films we've covered. It opened on just 2 screens on March 31st, 1995. By April 21st, it had expanded to 351 screens and grossed $650,000, good for 17th place. Even though Jefferson in Paris wasn't lighting up the box office, Disney probably didn't lose too much sleep. That same weekend, they had 2 films bookending the top 5. The top 5 films were A Goofy Movie, number 5, Rob Roy, Kiss of Death, and Bad Boys fill in the middle section of 4, 3, and 2. The number 1 film for the weekend was the Sandra Bullock Christmas-themed movie, While You Were Sleeping. The movie, centered around Christmas and New Year's, was released in April. Critical reception to Jefferson in Paris wasn't much kinder. Let's go check in with our good friend Roger Ebert. In his review, Roger Ebert writes, "The film is lavishly produced and visually splendid, like all Merchant Ivory productions. But what is it about? Revolution, history, slavery, romance? The movie tells no clear story and has no clear ideas." 2 stars. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a pretty consistent score of 31% from the critics and 35% from the audience. What's the final out of Touchstone verdict? Well, let's be honest. If you're renting this movie on a Friday night, it's probably one of 2 reasons. 1, you're a Nick Nolte completist and will watch anything. Or 2, everything. And I mean everything, including Dorf on Golf, is already checked out. Not every film is going to be a crowd pleaser, or even draw a crowd at all. But that's the point of Touchstone Pictures. Make smaller films aimed at smaller audiences. It's what Jeffrey Katzenberg calls aiming for singles and doubles. That's going to do it for this episode of Out of Touchstone. Next time, I promise we'll get to the movie I teased last episode. Until then, the tapes are rewound, the video store's closed, and we're out of Touchstone.